Ooh, a little blurry. Hello, why so blurry today? Why so blurry? Hey you, Mr. Camera, why are you so blurry? Okay, sorry everybody, the camera's acting strange. Why? Okay, better. Okay. Hey everybody, so starting a little bit later than usual, but starting nonetheless. Okay, so had a very interesting request. The request is about idioms. So we have yes, very good. Yeah, hi Leona. So we had a very interesting request about idioms. So the thing is that for idioms, especially if you're taking the IELTS exam, I want to make sure that you do understand the importance of idioms. So first off, let's describe what an idiom is. So an idiom is just a bunch of words that have a different meaning. So usually they're stories or sometimes they're language that doesn't seem to be connected to the meaning. Say hi, Miss Hugh. So that's what an idiom is. Okay, it's a bunch of words that have another meaning when put together. So I'm going to tell you some of the idioms that you should be learning, for an example, for the IELTS exam. Now, idioms are very common. All languages have them. English is no exception. English also has lots of idioms. So I'm going to give you some of the most common idioms that you can use. Because the problem is there are lots of idioms. They're very high level. They're very complex. They're very advanced. But the chance that you could use them is quite low. So instead we're going to be focusing on the idioms that you could actually use in the exam more easily. So the first one I'm going to teach you is for the word different. So different is a very common word that we would use in English or in any language, but it's too common. So the idiom for different is a far cry from. A far cry from. So I'm going to give you an example about how you can actually use this. Because if I just give it to you, it's kind of difficult to understand. But I think if I give you some examples, it will be much easier. So if I say that McDonald's is different from Burger King, I could say that. I mean, it is different. It's not super different, but it is different. Instead, I can use a far cry from. I can say McDonald's is a far cry from Burger King. So if you take a look here, hi Emma. So if you take a look here, instead of saying it's different from, you can use it's a far cry from. A far cry from. So this is much better language, and it is an idiom. So if you were taking the IELTS exam as an example, you would score much higher simply because you used an idiom. So once again, it's exactly the same as different. You can replace different from and then use a far cry from. So that is one of the best idioms that you can definitely learn in English. Because like I said, different is very common. All right. We have lots of idioms to get through. So I think this one's pretty basic. If you need more explanations, then please let me know in the chat room. Otherwise, I'm just going to move on. Okay. Let's take a look at the next word, or the next phrase, sorry. So, when you want to describe something that is easy. So a lot of you may already know this, because it is kind of easy to know. However, lots of people don't use this very often. Why is the camera doing this? Hey, camera, get back together. Still like this. Camera, yes, hi, camera. Okay, if you take a look at the word easy, right? You guys know this word, the opposite of difficult or hard. Doing math is easy. Instead of using easy, you can use piece of cake. Once again, you notice a piece of cake it doesn't tell you that it's easy, but that's what it means. So instead, you could say doing math is a piece of cake. So instead of saying it's easy, you can just say that something is a piece of cake. You can also use something like a cakewalk. So doing math is a cakewalk. Okay? There are lots of things in life that are easy, which means they're all pieces of cake. So you can use this language. It's much better than saying it is easy. Is learning English a piece of cake? Maybe not. Maybe it is. I know a lot of people think it's not, and that's fine. Let's take a look at some adjectives to describe people. So, how would we describe this person? Well, obviously, it's not a person, it's a horrible smiley face. You would call this person happy. Happy is an extremely low-level word. There are lots of other words that you could use instead of happy. You can use jubilant, you can use cheerful, you can use elated, you can use joyful. You can use all those words. Or, you could also use an idiom. There are lots of idioms that can express when someone is happy. So the first one is he is happy. Okay, very simple sentence. Instead, we can say that he jumps for joy. So whenever someone jumps for joy, it means they are extremely happy, extremely elated, particularly pleased or delighted. So you can also change the grammar. He is jumping for joy. So when you jump for joy, it means that you're happy. Or you can say he is walking on air. Now obviously, no one currently, maybe in the future when we have anti-gravity boots, but currently no one can walk on air. Though, if someone is walking on air, it means that they are very, very happy. I found $200 today, so I've been walking on air, as an example. The last one I'll talk about when people are happy is when they're on cloud 9. He is on cloud 9. Once again, it just means really happy. She found a new boyfriend, so for the last week, she has been on cloud 9. So once again, there are lots of idioms that you can use when someone is happy. That means using happy, you don't have to do that anymore. You can definitely use some of these idioms instead. Okay, very good. Let's talk about anger. So in English, there are also lots of words for someone who's angry. So I'll just tell you some, like furious or hot-tempered, something like this. There are also idioms. Hello, camera. Hi. Is the camera working? Blurry. Why? Okay, good. Okay, so what about anger? So if someone gets angry all of a sudden, so let's write down anger. He got angry suddenly. Then you can say that he flipped out. He flipped out. That means that they got angry suddenly. So I have a question here from Miss Hugh. Is there a past tense for idioms like jump for joy? Jumped for joy. Yes. So if you say jumped for joy, that means he was happy because it's in the past. So last week, he scored 100% on his math test, so he jumped for joy. So yes, you do have to worry about the tenses. Hi, Ermin. You do have to worry about the tenses for idioms, yes. For most idioms, not all of them, but for jump for joy, definitely tenses do play a role. Very good question, Miss Hugh. Okay, so he flipped out, it means when someone gets angry suddenly. Another idiom that means that someone gets angry all of a sudden is flies off the handle. So this is in the past tense, right? So we got to change the tense. Fly turns into flew. He flew off the handle. So the base is fly off the handle, but because, like I said, it's in the past, then we can change it. He flew off the handle. So whenever someone gets angry suddenly or unexpectedly, you can say that they flipped out or flipped. Flipped is also okay. You can say he flipped, she flipped, he flipped out, she flipped out. You can also use fly off the handle. This also means to get furious, surprisingly. All right. Very common adjectives to describe people. I'm going to move on to the next one. We're going to be talking about being tired. Tired. So a lot of students always complain to me that they feel tired. So there aren't that many idioms. There are short ones here. So instead of saying, I am tired, it's very simple. What you can do instead is, I am dead tired. I am dead tired. Or you can say, I am dog tired. So these are both okay. Instead of saying I am tired, the idiom would be dead tired and dog tired. Okay? So it's not really an idiom, but you definitely can use it. It will make your speaking and writing, if it's informal, remember this is informal, it will make your speaking and writing much more native sounding. Okay. Let's talk about when you are doing well. So sometimes in life you may be doing well, maybe you're doing well financially, you may be doing well in your relationship, you may be doing well in your family or your job or in sports or something like that. So if you're doing well in anything, you can say that you are on the ball. So I am doing well at my job. Fine, but I can also say I am on the ball at my job. On the ball. When you're on the ball, it means you're doing well for something. So whenever you're doing well or you think you're good at something, you can use the idiom on the ball. This is very common. You should use this more frequently. Right? Oh, how's Jim doing? Oh, well, at his new university, he has been on the ball. How about Mary? Oh, Mary is great. Her family life is completely on the ball. So whenever you want to compliment somebody or say someone is doing something well or good, you can use on the ball. So this is a very good one. Now, what happens if it's the opposite? What if you're doing poorly? What if you're in trouble? Okay. Well, if you're doing poorly or you're in trouble, we got lots of idioms for that too. I am in trouble, which means you're doing, you have a problem, something like that. You can say instead that I am up the creek. And then you can also add without a paddle. So a creek is a small bit of water. And if you're up the creek, you need to get a paddle so you can, sorry, my horrible acting skills. You need a paddle to paddle back down the creek. So you can, if you're in trouble, you can say, I am up the creek. You can say, I am up the creek without a paddle. Now, where I come from, we actually say, I am up, instead of the, we actually say Schitt's Creek. But this is really crude language. So maybe you want to avoid that, so you can use the less crude one, I'm up the creek, or I'm up the creek without a paddle. If you're talking with your friends, you can just say, I am up Schitt's Creek. It means that you are in trouble. You have a problem. If you are in trouble, you can also say that you are in hot water. I am in trouble, or I am in hot water. I'm in hot water. So you notice, if you're in hot water, if something's in hot water, that's probably bad, right? Because it means you're boiling it. If you boil anything, it'll die. So that's why if you're in hot water, it means that you are in trouble. So both of these idioms, I'm up the creek and I'm in hot water, means you have a problem, you are in trouble. So you can use these idioms instead. Okay, now, I'm going to give you one. When you want to talk about shopping, these are quite good. When something is expensive, this is a very common word. I mean, there's other ways to describe this. You can say it's astronomical, right? But instead, you can say something like, it costs an arm and a leg, right? So if you've ever been to Disneyland, Disneyland is quite expensive. In Hong Kong as well. I don't know why people go there. It's so tiny. The Disneyland or the Disney World, the Disneyland in California and the Disney World in Florida is much better. But anyways, it costs an arm and a leg. You can say the tickets cost an arm and a leg. So anytime something is expensive, don't say it's expensive, say it costs an arm and a leg. Now if it's cheap, usually we just say it's dirt cheap. So dirt is free, actually. If you go outside, there's dirt everywhere. Well, if you're in Hong Kong, it depends where you live. But dirt is basically everywhere. So if something's cheap, you can say it's dirt cheap. So this is also a very common idiom that you can use. Leona asked, are you okay? I don't know what that means. Leona, please let me know what you mean by are you okay? Are you asking me or someone else? I don't know. Okay, so expensive, it costs an arm or a leg. If it's cheap, you can say it's dirt cheap. Another common one you could use, I know a lot of you from Hong Kong, some of you from Korea. So as an example, it's quite crowded. So you could say Hong Kong is crowded. Now there are other ways to say this. You could say it's cramped, right? Or you could say, Hong Kong is packed like sardines. Packed like sardines means crowded. So if you don't know what a sardine is a tiny little fish. So actually, you can buy a pack of sardines. And the box is usually like this, and you'll see that these little sardines are in there like this. They're very close to each other, one by one. So that's why it's called packed like sardines. So whenever something's quite crowded, you can say it's packed like sardines, just like Hong Kong. Seoul, not as much, but yes. So whenever it's crowded, don't say it's crowded, say it's packed like sardines. All right. I'm going to teach you a couple more phrases, then we're going to be done for the night. If there are any questions, please let me know in the chat. I'm more than happy to explain. So just a couple more idioms, and then we're going to call it a night. Call it a night means we're going to finish it off. Sardines, Leona, are kind of very tiny fish. A tiny fish. Yeah. Okay. Now, during any exam, it's very normal to say to people that you may not understand something. So if you don't understand, then many people say, sorry, I don't understand. Instead, when you don't understand, you can use this idiom. Instead of saying, I don't understand, you can say, it is clear as mud. So you may know that sometimes we say, oh yeah, it's clear or it's crystal clear, which means we totally understand. Well, if it is clear as mud, mud is wet dirt. You cannot see through mud, which means you don't understand. So instead of saying, I don't understand, you can say, it is clear as mud. You're very welcome, Leona. Okay? So, during any exam, when you talk to people, if you don't understand, do not say, I don't understand. It's very low level to common. Instead, just say, it's clear as mud. Same thing. Okay, we're going to finish off with one of the most common phrases I always hear, right? I don't know. This is probably the most common thing people say all the time. I know when I was learning Mandarin Chinese, it was one of the first phrases that I learned. When I learned Korean, it was one of the first phrases that I learned. So I can understand why people use it all the time. Unfortunately, it's too common. So instead of saying, I don't know, which is very common, instead, you can say something like, your guess is as good as mine. So this literally means, your guess is as good as mine. So if you ask me, like, hey, how much do those tickets cost? Well, your guess is as good as my guess. It means that you know as much as I do, which means nothing. So we both don't know. So instead of saying I don't know, you can say your guess is as good as mine. And this is very important if you're taking the IELTS or DSC or TOEIC or some other English exam. You don't ever say, you never say I don't know. It's a very bad phrase to use. You should avoid it at all costs. Instead, you can say your guess is as good as mine. You can also say something like, only God knows. Hey, do you know where Philip went for dinner yesterday? Only God knows. Means you don't know. Only God knows. Why are you asking me? You should ask God. So, it's the same thing as I don't know. The last one that I can teach you, it's the easiest one. It means beats me. Beats me. Hey, do you know where I can buy tickets? Beats me. When is the movie starting? Beats me. When do you think you're going to finish this project by? That question really beats me. Just beats me. Beats means to defeat. It means you lost. So it means the question has defeated you in a way that it has beat you. So you don't know. So all of these phrases, your guess is as good as mine, only God knows, beats me, they all mean I don't know. So these are three excellent phrases that you can use, three excellent idioms that you can use instead of I don't know. And I want to emphasize this again. This is really critical. Because in any English exam, like IELTS for example, I don't know is a very low-level phrase. Every single person knows how to say it. Even the candidate who doesn't speak English ever knows I don't know. You could go to mainland China, you could go to Japan, you could go to France, and even if they only know 5 words of English, this is going to be 3 of the words they know. So avoid it at all costs. You can use these ones instead. My favorite here is Beats Me, and it's also the shortest, so it's up to you about which one you want to choose. All right, so I know we've been through quite a few idioms today, but hopefully they're useful, right? Instead of saying happy, you can say that you jump for joy, right? Or that you're on cloud 9. Instead of saying something's expensive, you say it costs an arm and a leg. When something's easy, you say it's a piece of cake or it's a cakewalk. Lots of these idioms that I focused on today, the reason why I focus on these ones is because these words you use all the time in your speaking and writing. Easy, angry, happy, different, I don't know, expensive. These are the words that you use all the time whenever you're communicating. And so the chance that you could use the idiom instead of those low-level words is extremely probable. Okay, very good. I didn't get any other questions, so I guess we're done for tonight. If you have a suggestion for a topic for next week, please let me know. I love the enthusiasm from the students. I love their questions. If there's a way that I can assist you, please let me know. If nothing else, then I will say goodnight. I will see you next week. Bye for now, everybody, and see you then. Oh, wait. Oh, question. It's raining cats and dogs. Oh, we have a question right at the last moment. Old-fashioned, yes. But she was asking, is raining cats and dogs is an old-fashioned way of saying heavy rain. It is a very old way. To be perfectly honest, I can't remember a time in my life. I'm not 20 and I'm not 50, but I cannot recall a time in my life where somebody said it's raining cats and dogs. I think it's a very old way of saying it. Yes. Applicable in writing, Ermin. If it's, okay, so idioms are informal. So if you want to use them for writing, you can, but you have to make sure it's an informal letter. So in IELTS or DSE, sometimes your letters could be informal. So if it says, write a letter to your friend about the vacation you had, and you're talking about how it's raining cats and dogs, then definitely they want that. And specifically in IELTS, if you look at speaking, they do want you to use idioms if you want to score 7 for vocab, as an example. So yes, you can use the idioms in informal writing only. Okay? It is not a requirement, however, you will score better for vocabulary. That is also true. Okay, 2 very good questions from Miss Hugh and from Ermin. Okay, I guess we're done for tonight. Any other questions? You know where to find me. I will see you next week. Toodaloo. Bye for now.